Hey everyone, it's Jerry here. Welcome to the pilot episode, to episode 0 of Just Journos. Essentially, this podcast is Jez and Friends, but then that's disbanded because I graduated from high school and now I'm at uni with some great mates such as Jack Huggett and Justin Schwartz. Obviously, we'll touch on our education history and all that growing up, but I think I'd like to introduce you two, and obviously, you're both helping produce the show. And do you want to give a quick intro for yourself? We might start with Jack over at Maryborough.
Okay, so yeah, I'm another journalism student. Jerry and I met during first year at RMIT. Uh, then we continued to work together on the sports desk, but I guess for myself, yeah, just trying to forge a career in journalism.
Lovely to hear, Jack, and you're doing really well. Lots of articles in the soccer area, and yeah, really proud of what you've achieved so far. So just keep doing what you're doing, and I'm sure we'll have many more chats like this. Yeah, awesome. Now yourself, Justin.
Yeah, I'm Justin. I'm here with Jerry in the studio now. It does say my name there because Jerry forgot his laptop, but so we're sitting here conjoined for this episode. But yeah, I'm another journalism student as well, same cohort as Jack, and I started with Jerry. I I'm more into I've been more into the print kind of stuff. I know Jack's been a lot more online, and we're kind of been in different kind of sports journalism. He's been like a lot of what was it, like manager stuff and a lot of behind the scenes kind of work. And I've done a lot more like match report, live sort of stuff in terms of reviewing games and calling coaches and things like that in terms of the actual sport, not what goes on behind the scenes of sport. But I know I'm surrounded by two great sporting minds and two great media minds and two great journalists. So I couldn't be happier with the crew that's part of this show.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you both on the podcast. Obviously, we're connected with Sports Desk and then also starting journalism together in 2023. And then, obviously, as you know, my story, we'll touch on it in future episodes, but we're not graduating together. But I see it as a piece of paper that shows the effort we put in. And obviously, I might finish at another uni, but we still have that shared memory of starting uni together. So, obviously, it's really important for me to I guess start this podcast as like a person in 2025 rather than a person 5 years ago with Jez and Friends. So a fresh start for everyone, and I think yeah, it's for the best. We might start with education actually because we were talking about it. Jack, do you want to touch on your high school subjects and how that influenced your decision to pursue journalism?
For me, mostly fairly humanities based. So it's like legal studies started that earlier in year 10, then finished it in
Yeah.
year 11. Then it was politics, history, psychology, and then literature as well. So a fairly, English or based. And that was always the way I was. I did gen maths as well, but it was never really my calling.
Yeah, it was like your lowest scoring subjects, yeah.
Yeah, well, I was all right at maths, but like again, it wasn't my calling card in life. I always preferred writing. I initially wanted to be a lawyer, but
Yeah.
and
Okay.
before that in primary school, I was paleontologist. But there's not exactly a very marketable career in a lot of ways. But as
Fair
you
enough.
grow older, your interests change, and I certainly loved those humanities. And I think in a career like journalism, you get to experience a lot of those. I know I have
Mhm.
in a lot of my recent work as well.
Yeah, 100%. And just quickly, with your journalism degree, what's your major and how's it influenced, your journalism side as well?
So my minor is politics and communication. So I'm doing my capstone for that right now.
Mhm.
So this Monday I've got my final piece for that due. Casual 2,500 word essays. So that'll be a bit of fun. But ultimately, I've excelled on that. So that's been pretty good. And I started to move out of sports journalism a bit and into that political or general journalism
Yeah,
side.
lovely.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it definitely helps when you have that sort of backing behind you.
No, awesome. And it's lovely how you said sports and politics because they align so well together as well with many issues and, challenges in reporting and journalism. So yeah, props to you, Jack, and keep up the good work. Yeah. And then Justin, obviously we at the Oxford Scholar, which is a special location for all of us.
Mm.
I picked all your 5 subjects in year 12, if you remember that. So
Yeah.
do you want to touch on your journey, sorry, through year 12 and how that's impacted you today?
Yeah, I'm a person that likes to dabble in a little bit of everything. I like to leave no stone unturned. So, when I was in year 12 and did my exams, I actually had an exam clash because my exams were so like diverse and so different because I did such a different range of subjects. So I did what did I do? So I had a few humanities, so I had philosophy, but then I also had PE, general maths, English, and I did a language which was German. Um, so I think my philosophy and PE clashed because like the fewest number of students in the state did both of those subjects, which shows that was a really weird combination. But I think I've always been and to go back to your original question, Jerry, what's influenced me to become a journalist is
Yeah.
I've always been a curious person, and I love finding out things that make you think.
Mm.
And that's why I always love philosophy, but that's also why I love journalism because I think journalism can challenge mindsets. It can create new views of the world, create new perspectives. It helps you unlock, but also informs. And
Mm.
that's why I kind of like the longer form. And as Jack said, like that longer form stuff, not as much the breaking news. I like the features. Yeah, just teaching people new things and informing them about stuff they didn't really know in the past
Mm.
and how that can contribute to society. So that's probably why how my range of subjects
Yeah.
provoked thought and then how I translate it now into the career that I want to pursue.
I love how you said four because that's really important because as journalists we have to remain balanced and it's really
Mhm.
important to remain balanced as you both have covered. Do you want to touch on your journalism capstone similar to Jack's? Obviously different, so yeah, how's that going for you at the moment?
Yeah, mine's cinema studies. Mainly because I never really took an interest in politics. I don't really understand it, and I don't like things that I don't understand. So, I'm also not very good at it. But the reason I chose cinema studies is because I love being creative as well, and I feel like film can also create a lot of thought. Like in philosophy, for example, which is one of my favorite subjects, we always studied movies
Mm.
because it's kind of that visual representation of an idea.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what drew me to cinema studies. I also thought it was one of the more intriguing minors to me, but I don't know if I'll pursue anything in cinema studies. Don't know if I'll write a screenplay or anything, but yeah, I'm also in the same boat as Jack, writing or doing my capstone class, which I've completed all my assignments for, but I had a 2,500 word essay due last week, so that's glad to have that done. But you've got to pass still.
Yeah. Well, that capstone in writing for your graduation will mean a lot to you both because you've put in so much effort the past 3 years and it will show. And yeah, it's really good for employers, as you know, with the like the work experience and the extra stuff. Because
Mm,
yeah, it means
for
you've
sure.
committed yourself for the long haul, which we all have. And back to myself, obviously, sometimes I hate talking about myself because like I'm just a people's person, and you
Mm,
both know that.
yeah.
For me in high school, I was similar to Justin per se because I did a bunch of different subjects. So I did English, general maths, PE, media, business, and also extended investigation. So I want to touch on this subject. It was my lowest scoring subject, but I learned so much of it. So you picked a research question for the whole year, and then you wrote a 4,000 word essay on it, and then did a oral presentation in front of three examiners. So
Mm,
my research question was about intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, and that was really important to me because motivation is one of my key pillars in life. If you don't have motivation, then how are you going to succeed? That's how I
mm,
see it. And like, yeah, it was such an interesting subject, like, because we do essays now in uni and like it prepped me for uni, the referencing, we have to do that in year 12 as well. So I really enjoyed that course and I did that through Virtual School Victoria. So it wasn't actually proper like classes, if that makes sense. And my journalism journey, it's tough for me to say like in front of you guys
yeah.
because you know what I went through. I'm not gonna touch on it today because it's too personal. But I finished with my first year at RMIT, majoring in pop culture. I just love learning about different cultures, like the history of sports as well.
Mm,
You guys love my like statistics that I pull off. Like yeah, so numbers and like culture means a lot to me. Obviously being from Timor-Leste, like I try and educate my friends about like the intergenerational trauma I've gone through in my life. And then now I'm doing community services. So 2024 took a year off because I needed that mental health break. And then this year started community services as Cert 4 because I love helping people and I see myself working in the mental health space. Because I've gone through a lot of mental health struggles in my life. And then obviously I've gone through a lot this year, which we will touch on later on. There's no need to speak about it now, but yeah, I think education for all three of us means a lot, and that's why we're, doing what we love essentially, and we're going to get paid for what we do. So yeah, it's really important. And then to rewind, Jack and Justin, I want to speak about growing up. I might continue about growing up and then
Mm,
transfer to you both. So, growing up, I grew up in the Flemington Flats. Didn't have much growing up just because of some personal challenges with my family, which, yeah, it's too personal to touch on. But the three words I learned about growing up there was community, um, passion, and resilience. Because coming from there, you don't have much, but you have such a wide range of diverse people from diverse communities. And I learned to accept everyone for who they are. We're all very different human beings, but we all deserve to live a happy and fulfilling life. And I think so far, in my 20 years of life, I've achieved so much, yet suffered through so much. Yeah, we'll hand it over to Jack. Talk about your upbringing, where you grew up.
So like I'm fairly fortunate through my upbringing. Obviously a bit of a different lifestyle to you guys, being urban and Melbourne based. I've been in Maryborough, then I went to high school in Bendigo. So yeah, like I guess taking through life, I've not had, siblings or anything, so it's more of a solo learnings from that. But like again, like I think there's a lot you take from growing up, and it's always one of the big things for me has been about resilience and having to bounce back after things. Um, Again, I fairly fortunate through growing up. I didn't have anything go drastically wrong or whatnot. So
Mm.
again, like still, there's things you do take away. Again, I wouldn't say I have like the most interesting childhood or anything though.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, like I've learned about your child a lot from our coffees we've had over the years, and yeah, it's important for you to share it with the viewers and listeners today. So thanks for sharing, Jack. On to you, Joz.
yeah, I'm in a similar boat to Jack. I didn't grow up in the country. But I grew up kind of southeast Melbourne. Down in the peninsula, but not the nice side, not the nice side. But yeah, I grew up in a household with just one brother and then parents as well. But I was very fortunate, kind of. I don't want to call it a bubble, but I didn't really have to leave my area too much. I lived walking distance from my primary school and my high school. Um, so I kind of and I had a best mate of years that lived just down the road from me. So I lived a pretty comfortable growing up period. But I think the biggest takeaway from my childhood is my dad is a super sporty guy. Like he played hockey growing up, but
Is that
you
ice
know
hockey or field hockey?
field
Field
hockey.
hockey.
So he was the he loved playing keeper because like the keeper's the most physical position. If the
Mm.
attacker came anywhere near, he would give him elbows and stuff like that. But anyway, I think yeah. So growing up, he wanted me to play a sport, me and my brother, and yeah, so I tried so many different sports before something stuck. Like, and I know we're going to touch on this later. That's kind of the next segment of this. But I remember playing cricket, baseball, footy. What else did I play? Soccer. I played. Yeah, so many different swimming. Tried swimming. So many different things. Before tennis as well as another
Mm.
one. Just tried so many different things, and it just wasn't really working. So I think that that's something that that's kind of stuck with me is that
Yeah.
you find something till you enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I feel like that translates into a lot of facets of life where, you can have something that you don't enjoy, like a career or a friendship or something. You just find something till you find the right mix of it.
Mm.
And I think that that's something that I really learned from childhood because like I said, growing up, I was very fortunate. I had a great support family. My brother and I get along extremely well despite
Oh,
having
okay.
completely
Yeah.
different interests.
Mm.
Like, he's not as sporty as me, but he was a lot more academic, but we get along super well. So yeah, I was very fortunate in that sense, and I got great friends as well.
And what's the age gap with you and your brother?
2 years,
2
so he's
years.
2 years older than
Yeah.
me. But yeah, so it's interesting that we have completely different interests, and we're kind of from the same walk of life, but completely grow
Mm.
as different people.
Yeah.
But yeah, we get along really, really well. So that's kind of my growing up.
No, thank you too. Thank you both for sharing. Yeah, it's interesting to see your upbringings, and obviously mine's probably, yeah, it's fair to say a lot more challenging, but obviously it's put me in good stead of who I am and who I want to be as a person. So yeah, it means a lot you both sharing about your experiences growing up, and yeah, a final segment. Obviously, we wanted to keep today's episode short and sweet because we're all pretty busy people. Is sports. So starting with myself, I'll give my top three sports and what they meant to me. Growing up, just similar to Jazz, I played many sports through the after school program the Huddle North Melbourne's community arms did for us. So as Juz said, like the list goes on. I won't spill on too much, but my top three sports are AFL because I'm wearing a North jersey now, but Juz will probably wear it
I
later
still
as
wear
usual.
it.
But North Melbourne means so much to me because of their community arms. They got me away from the youth gangs and the violence and got me, to pursue my journalism and sporting dreams. I was a decent footballer growing up, but I was called too short, too skinny my whole life, and that's why I stopped playing footy because of body image issues. Still, it's my favorite sport though. Secondly, tennis is my second favorite sport. French Open's happening. I grew up idolizing Roger Federer. Every time he lost, I'd cry. Like I'm a sensitive human being, but that's just who I am. And then lastly, running athletics is my third favorite sport because, as you both know, I've represented Victoria at Nationals. I'm pretty gifted, and I see myself as a future Olympian at the 2032 Brisbane Games because I'm very talented. It's more just finding the right people to get me to places. So. Yeah, we'll go on to you, Jack. Tell us about your three favorite sports.
I'm not really a list person. I think, there's values in just liking what you like. But I played soccer growing up. I played basketball growing up. Those were, my two main sports, I guess. And then supplemented that with stuff like swimming and a bit of track. But again, yeah, those were like enjoyed playing. But as a spectator or as an enjoyer of the sport, I've always loved footy, AFL. It's a Victoria. I'm Victorian. Everyone has to. You're mandated to. But then again, like other stuff that, I've never had the chance to compete in. Obviously, like a lot of motorsport I watch. It's, very expensive to get into, so I never really tried that. Um, but it's a lot of fun to watch. It's a very adrenaline-based sport. Then there's other stuff I've gotten into when I'm older, like ice hockey. Not exactly something you culturally do in Australia. There's no way to really do it again. But as someone that spectates like the NHL, and even like the internationals, it's an awesome sport to watch. And then other stuff, a bit of tennis here and there, especially Oz Open. I think,
Mm.
the way Melbourne gets around it is fantastic. And there's another whole story there about how, we live in a very sporting state and a very sporting city in Melbourne, which, it contributes to just, I guess, having that culture ingrained in you as well.
Yeah, and the importance of loving a lot of sports, Jack, as you've mentioned, is that, yeah, if you have a wider knowledge of different sports, then you can report on it a lot easier down the road. So it's good you've self-actualized and, done that throughout your life because it's put you in good stead to be, a great sporting and political journalist, which you already are, and, you keep improving each day. So, yeah, very proud of what you've achieved so far and can't wait to, work in the industry together. So props to you, Jack. Keep it up.
Yeah, cheers.
Your turn. That's right. Your turn, Charles.
Yeah, I've as it's kind of been known since I've known you guys as friends. I'm just basketball. I'm a huge basketball fan. I just can't get enough of that sport. I don't know what it is. I play it to death. I used to coach it. Yeah, I work as a journo, and part of that is covering basketball as well. I watch as much of it as I can. I just can't get enough of that sport. I don't know what it is, but I just love it so much. But in terms of other interests, I love footy. I never played it really growing up. I did Oz kick, as most kids do. As Jack said, it's Victoria. You're obligated to. But yeah. So I played Oz kick, but I still absolutely love footy. I'll go to the footy, and yeah, I really enjoy watching mates play footy, but never really been for me the sport actually playing it. I've always loved soccer, but I think my third favorite sport has to be cricket. I again never really played it, but loved having a hit in the backyard, and I think the bond that Australia has with cricket, it's just so interesting here that we're such a sporting nation that we can enjoy any sport, whereas it feels like a lot of other countries are fixated on their one, two, three national sports. But here, there's kind of a big backing for everything. Like I know in terms of our professional standards, you look at like the A League, and the NBL. They're not the best in the world,
Mm.
but the NBA has massive interest here. The Premier League has massive interest here. Even tennis in the men's section, we haven't been amazing, but the Australian Open is huge.
Mm.
So I think in terms of being an Australian and being a sports fan myself, I've really been engulfed by the culture here, and I mean that in a good way because I
Mm.
absolutely love it. And even if it's not a sport I'm interested in, I get around it. And as Jack said, like ice hockey, it's great. I don't know a thing about it, but if it's on the TV, I'll watch it. Like yeah, I think that just that community and culture that
I
comes with
love that.
sport,
Yeah.
I think that brings us together and just because it's so you can be from any walk of life, but sport is just so, I guess. I don't know what the word is, but you can just talk to anyone about it, right? You can connect with
Mm.
anyone about their favorite footy team, their favorite basketball team. And if you have knowledge across all of that, you've got a conversation started with anyone. And just
Exactly
that
right.
togetherness that sport brings,
Yeah.
it is what, yeah, what really connects with me.
Oh, that's lovely, Giles. I think, as Jack said, as myself and you've said, community is really important to all of us in small and large ways. And like, if you meet someone for the first time and you ask them what their favorite sport is, that's an instant connection straight away. So, I think that's a huge message I want to bring with this podcast about community, sports, education, growing up, and how that's shaped who we are as people. And obviously, you two are going to learn more about my friends through producing this show. So, yeah, it's really meaningful that today, episode 0, is how we've started because obviously we're on different life trajectories, but we're in a similar field or we're in the same field. So, yeah, it's a pleasure, as always, to chat with you two. It's a big year for all of us because we're turning 21 as well. So, I think to sign off on that, all our birthdays are coming up, and yeah, just keep living, keep laughing, and keep loving. I think that's how we'll cut it today, Jack.